Okay, so this is the first audio podcast of the Karmic Margin Call Project. My name is Michael Schumann. I am the administrator of the Karmic Margin Call Project, and I'm going to fix my video camera here. All right, that looks a lot better. So welcome. This is called The Most Meaningful Conversation. So this is going to be the first of three series of classes that I teach for free right here online. So before we begin, I just want to let you know that you should have a recording device to record yourself and to listen to yourself. You know, there's a lot of listening involved in all of these activities. And also have a notepad and a pen with you as well. I don't seem to have a pen at this moment, but I will locate one as we pause for your activities later on. So, what is the purpose of this class today, the most meaningful conversation? Well, my intention is to introduce people to a new economy. It's something I call the service and education market economy. So the idea is that everybody is infinitely valuable. Everybody is a piece of the puzzle for really creating a better world and creating a more equitable economy. So the purpose of this series is to help you kind of tune into what is it that you have to offer, what is your passion, how do you fit into this puzzle, and really just how to have better conversations with people. My personal opinion is that there's all kinds of social engineering going on out there that keep people from really talking to each other, that keep people from really listening and really finding out, you know, what works, how to put things together instead of taking things apart. We're so used to taking things apart. You know, everyone's a critic, everybody's a judge. And, you know, it's time to kind of, put those aside, put the differences aside and really tune in. So a lot of these activities are more about listening than anything else, even though you're going to be doing a lot of talking. I'm going to be doing a lot of talking. I'm going to ask you to pause the tape. I always say tape, like I'm still in the 80s and it's a cassette tape. Pause the recording and you're going to be able to do your own activities. So in the beginning of any conversation, it's important to kind of get focused on what is your intention? What do you want to get out of it? So the first couple minutes, I always try to remind you, the listener, that this is about you. And I want you to focus on you now. So whatever is going on, if you have the opportunity to go into a room, shut the door, you know, be by yourself, this is all about you, and to find out what is your intention. So my intention is to help you understand that this is a collaboration. That I would love it if you do get anything out of these recordings. Please email me, karmicmargincall@gmail.com or admin@karmicmargincall.com. I want to hear from you. This is all about a collaboration, and my intention is to start to help each other see each other as equal partners. Part of what is dysfunctional about our competitive economy right now is that we're compartmentalized. We're involved in a hierarchy where people don't talk to each other, and that's by design. And that is so that we don't come together and find, you know, the correlations and fix things. So that is my intention, is to find the functional parts and for us to come together. So especially here in the beginning phases of these recordings and of this documentary film I'm making about the Karmic Margin Call Project, I highly encourage you to please contact me. And if we're far along in this process and a lot of people are starting to collaborate in this new economy, then we'll have, you will know who to go to, because they'll probably present this material to you. So okay, let's just get right into it. And the first thing I'm going to have you do is get your pad and paper here. So what I want you to do is I want you to take this pad and paper, and I want you to divide it first. You're going to take your pen and you're going to divide straight down the middle, which means you're going to divide it into two columns at first. And then next, what you're going to do is you're going to divide it from left to right, so that you're dividing it into four corners. Okay? So we are going to be exercising 4 different techniques today. So now that you have the 4 corners on your paper, in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to write in the word fire, okay? The word fire. So we're going to be working with 4 elements here: fire, air, water, earth. Okay, so fire is about creativity. And we're going to do an improv exercise where you can write it down, you can say it out loud into a recorder. I highly will encourage you to work with other people, 1 or 2 other people, not much more. Keep it to a group of 3. We want to keep this very personalized and very specific to whatever small project you're working on as well with other people. But the idea is you want to be able to really listen to each other, listen to yourself. If you write down the activity, you want to go back and review it. Okay, so everything that you say is important. So this is a creativity exercise. Fire is about creativity. And the following exercise is inspired by 2 teachers. The first one is Sanford Meisner, the great acting teacher from the Neighborhood Playhouse, who brought this brilliant repetition technique about listening and observing people into the world of theater and acting. The other inspiration is Julia Cameron, the writer of The Artist's Way. And she had this very inspired technique called the morning pages, where you get up in the morning, you write. You don't censor yourself. You just get everything out on the page, and you stop thinking. And the idea is, you pray to the creator and say, look, I'll take care of the quantity. You take care of the quality. So we're going to do an improv exercise that kind of uses this morning pages idea. And we're just going to express ourselves. And we're going to do 3 rounds of this for this particular exercise. Excuse me one moment. I'm going to grab a quick drink of water. So we're going to do 3 rounds of this. And as you get comfortable with it, I want to encourage you to do this for longer durations. So the first round is going to be called In My World. You can also say If I Ruled the World for the beginning of every sentence. So the idea is, and okay, good, we're still rolling. The idea is you're just going to keep talking, and you're not going to stop. You're not going to censor yourself. If you get to a place where you feel like you're not sure what to say yet, or you're not sure what to say next, what to your brain kind of freezes up on you, acknowledge that. It's okay. In my world, I would have something better to say. If in my world, my voice wouldn't just change and sound like a radio announcer just now. It's okay. You can be funny with it as well. But the idea is to find a way to record it. So, use your recording device to record it. Or write it down. This is a great written activity. I would say if you do it as a written activity, do it for about 10 minutes. Set your clock, do it for 10 minutes. If you're speaking, start with about 1 or 2 minutes. And then as you get comfortable with it, work up to 2 or 3 minutes. So, if you're working with a partner, you'll go back and forth with your partner as well, too, with this. So, so the first person would just talk, and the other person would just listen if you're working with partners. So the first round is called In My World. And you're just going to talk I'm going to do 1 minute on this since I'm already almost up to 10 minutes on this broadcast. My goal is to make this a 1-hour class, a 1-hour broadcast. So I'm going to try to move as quickly as possible here. So I'm going to start every line with In My World, starting at 9 minutes and 30 seconds on my recording. And we'll go for a full minute here, and we'll just see what comes out. And here we go. In my world, I would be able to do this podcast professionally. In my world, I could make a profession out of teaching classes like this. In my world, there would be people right here in front of me doing this in real time. In my world, I would stop talking with my hands. In my world, we would be okay with making the tragic humorous. In my world, the tragic is something that needs to be looked at. In my world, fearlessness is something that comes with authenticity and courageousness and compassion and empathy. In my world, people truly are empathetic. In my world, evil is just ignorance. In my world, we all do represent the light. In my world, I would be able to just do filmmaking and podcasting and teaching and theater, for forever, whenever I want to. In my world, I would be able to travel the country, travel the world, and do this kind of material all the time, and that's 1 minute. So that was pretty easy for me. I would probably want to do that for about 2 or 3 minutes for the next round, but we're going to keep moving forward with that. So at this point, what you want to do is you want to stop, listen to your recording, look over your notes, and start to really think about what resonated most with you in that brief improv. If you're working with a partner, the partner should reflect back to you what they heard that really resonated with them and why it resonated with them. So, take the time, take the moment to really be with those, with those thoughts. And that's what we're going to use to bring into the next couple of activities here. And look at that, we're about 15 minutes in, as you can tell by the clock in the background here. So what came up for you? What resonated most with you? As I kind of reflect back, which is difficult to do when you're doing an audio recording like this, is what resonated most with me is the fact that I just want to have the conversation with people. I just want to start the conversation about how do we find out what's working, how do we synergize our efforts, and let's just go with the flow. It doesn't have to be planned. Just dive right in. So I'm going to ask you to pause this recording right now and go ahead and do the exercise yourself. Again, the first line or the first part of the line is, in my world, go. Or if I ruled the world, go. All right, I'm going to take a quick drink while you pause this, and then we'll come back. All right, I made a lot of noise on that one. Okay, so welcome back. So hopefully you did that first part of the exercise. And I'm looking at my clock here, and we're doing very good. We're moving right along. So the next round is going to be starting each sentence with what I am passionate about. What I am passionate about. So after you had a chance to kind of delve into what you would do if you would rule the world, or if I ruled the world, again, it can be funny, it can be crazy, it could go completely into Jupiter if you want. So now you're gonna start every sentence with what I am passionate about, and this can be a lot of fun as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate the exercise for 1 minute. Again, I would encourage you that if you're having fun with this and you really enjoy it, go for a full 3 minutes, go for a full 4 minutes. As long as you're recording it, as long as someone else is listening to it, or even if you're writing it, you want to go back to those notes and really, come up with what came up for you in those moments where you weren't quite sure what was going to happen next. All right, so I'm going to give this 5 seconds, and then I'm going to go into what I am passionate about. And 3, 2, 1. What I am passionate about is listening to people. What I am passionate about is helping the homeless. What I am passionate about is helping the suicidal, helping those who are depressed, helping those who are in the mental health fields. What I am passionate about is teaching. What I am passionate about is communicating, talking. What I am passionate about is theater. What I am passionate about is writing. What I am passionate about is articulation. What I am passionate about is making funny voices, when I'm supposed to be serious. What I am passionate about is being serious. What I am passionate about is creating economic equality. What I am passionate about is spirituality. What I am passionate about is psychology. What I am passionate about is philosophy. What I am passionate about is interactivity. All right, I think that's more than a minute right there, so I'll stop there. So again, what comes up for me that resonates most with me is just jumping in, getting in there and doing that, and creating something that's interactive, something that creates synergy. So yeah, so that's the kind of thing where I'm kind of now like envisioning, these geniuses watching and listening to this. You being that genius and saying, you know what, I have an idea. Let's talk about that and figure out how to create this and put it into the service and education market economy. So great. So I'm going to let you go for it. I'm going to ask you who is listening right now to pause the recording and go ahead and start every sentence with "What I am passionate about is." Go. Okay, we're making good time here. So I'm over 15 minutes in. And so we're going to do one more round of this. And the last round is going to start with every sentence beginning with "What I am creating." Okay, so again, I will emphasize this is the third time through, third time's the charm as well. This kind of repetition helps to ingrain the knowledge. But remember, if you're writing it down, write every sentence with, "What I am creating is," and write it down. If you are speaking, if you're doing this on yourself, if you're doing this by yourself, use a recorder so that you're listening to it at the end. If you're talking to someone, both of you get a chance to listen, both of you get a chance to talk, and the partner will reflect back what they heard and why it resonated. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, and I'm going to start in 1 minute, and I'm going to go now. What I am creating is a documentary film about the Karmic Margin Call project. What I am creating right now is a class about this whole thing. What I am creating is alchemy, the fire, the wind, the air, the water, the fire, what was it? Fire, water, air, earth. I'm creating alchemy right now. I'm creating a creative process. What I am creating is theater. What I am creating is theater for people who are having difficulty communicating. What I am creating is a platform for people to make their voices known. What I am creating is an opportunity for people to develop their voices. What I am creating is an opportunity to create a paradigm shift. What I am creating is an opportunity for people to come together. What I am creating is opportunities, period. What I am creating is an opportunity for myself to perform. What I am creating is a space for everyone to collaborate and do it in a safe environment. And that's exactly 1 minute right there. So, wow. Yeah, I'm definitely going to want to go back and listen to this. This is fun. This is fun for me. I hope it's fun for you. And the most important thing is that I hope you're working with partners at some point, and that you really feel like you've been heard, and that you're actively listening. So yeah, what came up for me, what I'm creating is just the fact that I'm creating now. It doesn't take a lot of planning. It's just jump right in and learn how to talk to each other. I think that's what I'm most passionate about creating, is the opportunity to have people really talk to each other. And this is a good opportunity for others to listen. So I'm really kind of getting excited about that right now. So go ahead and pause my recording, and go ahead and do the activity yourself. Every sentence begins with "What I am passionate about." Okay, so let's go back to our paper here. So in the upper left-hand corner, we just started with the fire. We're igniting the tinder now. So we went through 3 rounds of this repetition exercise. I call it the "In My World" repetition. So you started out with "In My World," and then we did "What I am passionate about," and then "What I am creating is." So that is the fire. And we are almost at 20 minutes at this point. If you feel like you just want to process all of that, that's perfectly fine. Stop this recording, come back tomorrow. We'll go on to the next phase. So there's certainly no shame in kind of taking time for yourself to process everything that's going. I'm going very fast right now, so to make my deadline here in 1 hour or so. So if you're still with us at this moment, then we're going to go to the upper right-hand part of your chart there, and we're going to write in the word air, and we're going to play an exercise called the question circle. So what is the question circle? The question circle is the opportunity to get your creative thinking and your critical thinking together to work in concert. Now, most of the time, they're working against each other, especially with social engineering, peer conditioning, social conditioning. We learn how to take things apart instead of putting them together, like I mentioned at the beginning of this recording. So this exercise is intended to help you to get the creative and the critical on the same page. If you're working with others, especially if there are people that you might have disagreements with, this exercise helps everyone to step into each other's worlds for a little bit. So if I'm going to understand you, I have to step out of my own world and step into your world in order to understand your point of view and where you're coming from. Likewise, the opportunity in the question circle is that you can step into my world for a little bit and we can find the correlations. So this activity is inspired by Tony Robbins. It's a funny story. I listened to his Personal Power series. There was like 14 cassette tapes in that in the late 80s. I must have been about 11 or 12 when I first discovered these tapes. And I would listen to them over and over and over again. And one of the stories that he told that really stuck with me my entire life was that the thought process is really just a series of unconscious questions and answers. And then you think about it for a moment, it's like, wait a minute, is that true? Oh, there's a question. There it is. So the idea behind the question circle is to start to identify the questions that you're asking yourself and then change them to become more empowering or change them to become more action oriented. We talk a lot about action intelligence, action initiated intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. There's two AIs. So there's actionable intelligence and then there's artificial intelligence. And the question circle really helps to generate what is actionable intelligence. So even if things might not be 100% accurate, even if your facts are still a little, you're still working on the facts, the question, the most powerful question you ask yourself is the ones that are going to help you move forward. Okay, so we're also going to introduce the idea of the spin-off question as well. Now we'll get into that in a moment here after I have a chance to demonstrate the activity. So the first thing you want to do is hopefully at this point you know where you are, what you want, where you're going with this. If not, then maybe that would be the question. It's just like, well, what do I really want out of this right now? What am I looking for? So these are powerful questions. So I always try to come to this unplanned. It truly is an improv. So as I come to this, I'm going to make my first question. So you want to think of the most powerful question that you want to ask coming to this type of activity. So one of the most powerful questions I always like to ask is, well, what is the most powerful question I could be asking right now? So that's the first round. What is the most powerful question I could be asking myself right now? And a good question makes you pause, especially with the camera rolling and the audio rolling, and you're not quite sure what to say next. The most powerful question for me right now is how do I help you, my listener, know what happens next? How can I help you, my listener, know what to do next? And I just came up with that. So if you're working with a partner, your partner is going to answer that question. If you're working on your own, I would suggest, again, doing this on a recorder or writing it down. I think writing it down is very powerful. So if I had to come up with the answer, and that's the key now, you just come up with the answer, even if you make it up. It's just like the first exercise where we just, whatever the first thing that came to our minds, we would just say it. So, how can I help my listener know what happens next? Well, I think the first thing is helping you to understand what would you want to present? What can you present for 45 minutes to an hour? What can you talk about? And there's my cat. I can talk about my cat. What can you talk about, for 45 minutes to an hour without any preparation that you are completely passionate about? I asked another question. Sometimes that's what happens. But what you want to do is after you come up with an answer, after you brainstorm an answer, you want to come up with a spin-off question. Okay, so take a moment, reflect on your answer, and then come up with the spin-off question. And of course, I already came up with the spin-off question is what would you be able to talk about for 45 minutes to an hour without any preparation, without any prep time. For me, it would be talking about reverse market mechanics. It's something that I'm becoming very passionate about. I'm learning a lot about kind of like the hidden economy, offshore accounts, kind of like the dark money. And I know beyond any shadow of a doubt, there are trillions and trillions of dollars out there for people, who understand how to create compounded interest for themselves. And there's my cat again. And then it's the kind of thing where if we all start to find out what makes us passionate, what is it that lights us up, and we share that with just two people, it's the kind of thing where you don't have to reach a big audience. You just have to, share what you have to share with a handful of people, and that will get out. That will get passed forward. So what I can talk about, ad nauseum is the fact that when you find your passion and it's something that you're really into, you can share that, and we can all make compounded exponential interest off of whatever it is. We can do what we want to do, what we choose to do, rather than what we have to do in compliance to a hierarchy. So reverse market mechanics is all about, here I am, I can talk about this forever. Reverse market mechanics is all about understanding the relationship between the way we spend our time and how we create market ownership on a macroeconomic level. And really, the only way to kind of change that and to create economic equality is just to account it differently. And that's what reverse market mechanics is about. And this was a brief introduction. So I'm going to kind of catch up with what I just said, and I'm going to ask another spin-off question. So what's the spin-off question on that? And by the way, you can pause this at any time as well. And if you feel like you get the exercise, go for it. So my spin-off question there would be, what is it that I feel people don't understand quite yet? What is it that I think I have to clarify? So that's my powerful question. What is it that I feel I need to clarify at this very moment? What I feel needs to be clarified is that I talk a lot of jargon. I do talk a lot of technical stuff. I do understand a lot about stock market mechanics, investment market mechanics, and emotional intelligence, and I speak in very erudite ways sometimes. But you don't have to understand that part of it to really get involved. You just need to know what is it that you have, and be willing to show up. Be willing to show up and have these kinds of conversations, the most meaningful conversations of your life. And, to be able to listen and to be able to, give someone else the space for a little bit as well. And, take the space, it's all a matter of giving and taking. These are equal partnerships here, taking the space to explore what it is that you have to give. And you'll come up with the details. You'll come up with, the reason why this is important to you. So I'm going to stop there for my activity, my exercise with that. But I would like to encourage you to do about 7 questions. Go about 7 questions deep is what I call it. And then when you come full circle, that's why it's called the question circle, ask your original question. Okay, and so I'll go back to my original question is, what is the most powerful question I could be asking myself right now? So after kind of going through that entire process, I would say the most powerful question I would ask myself right now is, what do I want to do tomorrow? What do I want to do tomorrow to bring this forward? And my answer is I have a couple of friends I'm going to call. I'm going to start circulating this material in the homeless community. And I think that's something that's very important. There's apparently there's at any given night there's 500,000 people who are homeless on the street right now, and when you consider those who are underage, those who are under 18, that could be in the millions every night that are homeless. And there are, what did I read? There was like 8.5 million abandoned homes. So I think it's very important to create reverse market mechanics and to create this service and education market economy to kind of balance the scales out a little bit. So that's what comes back to me when talking about reverse market mechanics, and I can talk all day about that. So go ahead and pause the recording. I'm going to take care of my cat for a moment. And we're going to go on and we'll do the second half of this. So we are right on schedule. I am at 30 minutes and 42 seconds as of right now. So go ahead and pause. Go ahead and do the question circle. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, shoot me that email if something doesn't make sense. Another thing I'll say about this is if you're doing this with 3 or more people, this is very valuable to go around the circle. Like the first person asks their question, the second person answers it, come up with a spin-off question. Third person answers the second person question, come up with a spin-off question. And it goes around the circle. So it goes around the circle as many times as it needs to until you go about 7 or 8 times. And then the original question asker will answer their own original question after taking in all this information from the group. And again, if you're doing this on your own, do it as a written exercise or as a recording. Listen to it, read it over after you're finished. And what I would like to encourage you to do at the end of this exercise is come up with an action step. We want to have actionable intelligence working for us here. What do you do next? That's a question I ask a lot is, okay, what happens next? Now that you've discovered this, what happens next? Okay, so go ahead and we'll go on to the next phase here in a moment. Okay. So welcome back. So we're going to go back and look at our worksheet here. So as you can see here now in the upper left-hand side, we have the fire, which was the repetition exercise. In the upper right-hand corner, we have the air, which is which represents the intellect, and we just did the question circle. And now finally, on the lower left-hand side, we're going to write in the word water. Okay, so water represents emotion. So the purpose of this next exercise is to help you to identify what you are feeling, put the emotion into a word so that you know what you're feeling and that you can identify it. And that takes practice. Sometimes, you can be in a heightened state of emotion and not know what you're feeling. And then, it takes practice to be able to wake up in that emotion and say, oh, I'm feeling this right now. So the next exercise is inspired by a man by the name of Dr. David Hawkins. He wrote a book called Power versus Force, and he introduced this concept called the map of consciousness. So there goes my cat's tail right there. Okay. So the map of consciousness. With this recording, there will be a sheet that lists 17 different emotions. Some of the emotions will have 2 different emotions listed in the same category. And I want you to look at that very carefully. And I want you to identify at this moment, and please pause this recording to identify, well, what are you feeling at this moment? Find that emotion on that chart. And we're going to do an activity starting with that emotion. Wow, what am I feeling at this moment? And I'm going to look at that chart. So it starts at the bottom with shame. The top is enlightenment. And most of us are functioning somewhere in between there. It's a very wide range. I would probably say at this moment, I'm going to start with, I'm not frustrated. I feel a lot more calmer than frustration. So I'm going to say I'm proud. I'm going to start with pride. And by the way, this is an activity you can do when you're really feeling low. If you have the presence of mind to do this, especially when you've just gone through something very tragic or traumatic or something that that triggers some sort of some sort of emotional reaction. feel free to work with fear or desire or grief or anger as you're doing this. I like to play this game called the emotional ball. So like if you're angry, you pretend like you have this ball, and then you just say the word anger over and over and over again. Anger, 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 and then you get that out, and then you can go up in emotion, and the ball grows, and then you work with pride, pride, pride. So anyway, that's a good exercise, that ball exercise, to help you to at least get in touch with the emotion. And then once you're in touch with the emotion, you're going to do a repetition, just like we did during the fire, the in my world repetition. But you're going to start every sentence with that emotion. So I'm going to go for a minute here, and I'm going to work with pride. So I'm proud. I'm going to give it a few more seconds here so that I know exactly when I'm starting. So we're going to start in 2, 3. Okay. I'm proud of the fact that I'm doing this recording right now. I'm proud of the fact that I haven't given up doing this kind of work. I'm proud of the fact that I do theater games and theater productions like this, where people who don't even look at each other have ended up performing in front of 100 people. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the creativity that comes out of this kind of work. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm making a documentary film. I'm very proud that all of this is going to be a part of that effort. I'm proud of the fact that that I can speak up. That I do have a voice. That what I do does matter. I'm proud that what I do really does matter. I'm proud of the fact that I don't have to be perfect. I'm proud of the fact that I'm more about action than about perfection. I'm proud of my mentors. I'm proud of my friends. I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of my son. And that's a minute. I would probably go another minute or two on this. I would love to keep exploring pride, but we're going to keep moving on. So the idea here now is we kind of start to combine the fire and the air a little bit to really gain emotional leverage. So after you've recorded, that first emotion, or after you've written it down, go back over it. And with each thought, especially if you're writing this down, take the thought and then spin it or move it up into the next emotion. So the next one up from pride, I think, is courage. So if I say, like, I'm proud of my son, courage is homeschooling him. That's something I intend to do. I intend to homeschool my son because I'm so proud of him. What else? I'm proud that I'm making a documentary film. Courage is doing it all by myself, the editing, the lighting, the material itself. It's very courageous to do something like that pretty much on your own. I'm proud of my friends. Courage is reaching out to my friends with this kind of material. So every thought that you've come up with, calibrate it up one emotion. And then after you've done that, go ahead and do another repetition type of exercise where you do the next emotion up. Okay, so I'm just going to go right into this. So courage is saying, hey, I have the ideas to turn the economy around and to make it equitable for everybody. That's pretty courageous to be able to say that. Courage is, standing up, in the middle of all this chaos, in the middle of all this polarized dissension in the world, and saying, hey, I think I might have the answer, but I can't do it alone. Courage is humility. Courage is empathy. Courage is stepping in the middle of a conflict and just holding your ground with grace and with calmness. Courage is just getting out in front of this microphone and saying all of that. Courage is not having to be great or not having to compete, but to just be. Courage is providing the space. Courage is holding the space, for people to vent and to get their anger out and then help guide them. Courage is helping to guide them to a calmer place where they can start to create again. Courage is turning that camera on and saying, hey, here I am, let's talk. Courage is starting that conversation. Courage Courage is giving. There's a lot of courage in being able to give and give and give and have no thought of taking, to just give everything. Yeah, so that's a good minute. So it's the same thing now. You'll go up another emotion. So I'm going to let you pause this recording and do that on your own. Whatever feeling that you're starting out with, go for it. Okay. Yep. So I'm just going to do one more emotion on this recording, but feel free to take this as high up what I call the emotional hierarchy, as high up as you want. But just keep going until it feels authentic. If it does not authentic authentic anymore, if it's not a real feeling, go ahead and stop. It's cool. It's like a muscle. These kinds of emotional repetitions, I would encourage you to do them, every day. It's the kind of thing where even if it's a written exercise, or if you're talking to somebody and if somebody's doing this journey with you, try to find a way to do it every day. Take a day off every week or so, but it's like a muscle. You train it, and what eventually happens is you're able to identify your emotions when you're really pissed off or when you're really having a traumatic moment, and then you'll have the presence of mind to be able to bring yourself out one emotion at the time. Because that's the thing, a lot of spiritual bypassing or a lot of self-help type of materials will have you believe that you can be feeling rotten, but then you just got to be happy. You just got to jump up into joy. That's not realistic. We train. This is a training system in a way. So I'm just going to do one more emotion, and then I'm going to tell a story about this, and then we'll move on to the last step. What did I just do? Pride. Okay, so I did pride, courage, and then we're going to go into trust. Okay, so I trust that let me make sure what time it is. I trust that I'm doing this with the right amount of time. I trust that I'll be doing this for 1 minute and 1 minute only. I trust you. I trust whoever's listening to this, that this is the material that's meant for you, and that I trust that you'll get something out of it. I trust myself in that, even though I didn't really feel like being up here and doing this tonight, I trust the process, and I trust that this is what's meant to be said. I trust that everything I am saying here today is powerful and is what is meant to be said and meant to be heard. I trust that I don't have to throw everything out that I know in one recording. I trust that that's not possible, but I trust that what I do have to say in this hour is the most meaningful conversation that needs to be had right now. I trust that that 1 minute is almost done. I trust that I have 5 seconds left. I trust the process. I trust this process. Good. Okay, so that's 1 minute. So feel free to pause the recording one more time and keep going as far as you want to. I'm just going to tell one more story before I go on to the last section on this recording. But this work is done in if you're familiar with what emotional calibrations are, or muscle testing, it's the kind of thing where the higher up the emotions, the more authentic and the more truthful you are. In muscle testing, this is shown that as you're more within your integrity, more within those higher calibrating emotions, you become stronger. Or the muscle testing shows that you become stronger. I can testify to that, because in my personal training practice, we're going back about 10 years ago now, but I had a woman come in to train with me, and she was really upset. I think she was considering leaving her husband that day. Really a lot of conflict over the kids and that kind of a thing. And she was obviously not feeling like working out. So, I sensed that, and I said, you know what, you just want to hit stuff? Let's just hit stuff. So we started out at the level of fear on that chart. So I asked her to tell me, okay, if you feel comfortable, we're in a safe space here. Nobody's listening. We're away from the gym crowd. Every time you punch the mitt, just tell me, what you're afraid of. Well, I'm afraid to leave. Boom. I'm afraid I'll have nowhere to go. Boom. I'm afraid, I'm afraid what my kids will do or what they'll feel. boom. So as she was doing this and as she got comfortable with fear, her punches got stronger, and we moved up. Okay, so what do you want from this situation? I want to leave. Boom. I want my kids to be okay. I want to, I want to be safe. And it got stronger. Her punches got stronger, and that was very noticeable. So we kept going up through anger. Oh my goodness, the punches got a lot stronger and faster. And then we went up through pride. I'm proud of me for making the right decision. I'm proud of myself for standing on my own. I'm proud of myself for doing this exercise. I'm proud that I'm actually doing something. I'm proud that I'm taking time for me. And what happened as she moved up through pride is that, again, stronger, faster, less effort, more grace. And it was like the endurance was unending, never ending. And we went on all the way up through, pride, courage, trust, determination, acceptance, a little bit of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a tough one, especially if you're just being introduced to this for the first time. And it was just amazing. We went for 25, 30 minutes nonstop of punching. She was not winded, and it was just a beautiful thing to behold. And I honestly believe something like this, increases your strength, increases your ability to communicate. And I would even say boosts the immune system even. So that's a story I always love to tell when talking about this emotional hierarchy exercise. So let's go down to our chart. Bottom left hand. This is called the emotional hierarchy. And again, there's a worksheet that comes with all of these recordings, and this worksheet was working with the map of consciousness, the 16, 17 emotions in the map of consciousness. Okay. All right. Going on to the final phase. Lower right hand is Earth. And the last thing we're going to do today is something I call the clock model. The clock model. I want to acknowledge a man named Michael Lozier, who taught a wonderful series of teleclasses, and I've been using a lot of his techniques when I'm teaching these teleclasses. And he introduced this idea of the clock model. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your paper, draw a circle on the page, and then you're going to divide the circle in half from top to bottom. And then you're going to divide it from left to right so that there are 4 sections in the circle. And then you're going to divide each 4 sections into 2 sections each so that you're making a clock with 12 sections. So you'll put down the 12 hand at the top, the 6 in the bottom, the 9 to the left, the 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is where you kind of take everything that just happened. The fire, the creativity, the air, merging the critical with the creative, the water, the ability to start to build momentum in your emotions, to get yourself to emotionally commit to what it is that you're creating. And now Earth represents putting it into the dimensions of time and space. So we're creating tangible goals. So in my last class that I'll be presenting, I'm going to teach you how to use this clock model to create a 1-hour presentation to introduce to the service and education economy. You can use this clock model also for a 12-day goal, or a month goal, or a year goal. So it's the kind of thing where I'm going to encourage you today now to think about the 12-day goal. When I do the next 2 activities, when I do the activity about creating the 1-person presentation, we'll talk more about 30-day goals and 1-year goals. But I'm going to really stay focused today on a 12-day goal, taking this material and putting it into the future for the next 12 days. So I want you to think of every event, every conversation as something meaningful. This is about process, not product. It's not creating a prototype for a product that's going to make millions and millions of dollars. It's about creating the process of really encouraging one person at a time, or in this case, two people at a time. We work with a system called 2x2, where the idea is at the end of your presentation or at the end of your goal, you've inspired two others to do their thing, to do their goal. And the idea is that two people who share it with the next two people, it turns into four. 4 times 2 becomes 8. 8 times 2 becomes 16. Now, in the short term, this doesn't seem like very much, but if you realize if that happens for 20 days straight, everybody doing their part, going 2 by 2 by 2, it only takes about 20 days to reach 1 million people. Think about that for a moment. 20 days to reach 1 million people if everybody is having these conversations with 2 other people each day. That's pretty powerful. And it's the kind of thing where the service and education market economy will present ways to monetize that and to be able to benefit everybody with that. Because once you get to 20, that 20th power, it's 1.048 million. So that's why I really emphasize the goals here, because you're not trying to convince anyone to do anything. You're just presenting and doing what you were meant to do. And the result, the intended outcome, is to help 2 other people do the same thing, whatever it is that is for them. So it's a cooperative type of environment, not a competitive environment, and it values diversity. So that way, it breaks up the hierarchy. It breaks up, it breaks up the stranglehold of an elite few, and redistributes it to everybody on this earth, because everybody's different and everybody has the piece of the puzzle. So going back to the clock model here, the goal is to set a goal every day. We're going to do the 12-day today. So we'll do the 1 year and the 30 days here in a later session, and I'll show you how the goal is to double the numbers every month for 12 months. But for now, from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, I'm counting today as my first day, and my first day is to do this recording, and I'm doing that, and I finished that. So I was successful in the first 5, the first 1 o'clock marker here. So then tomorrow, what happens tomorrow? That's from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. My goal will be to, I have 2 friends that I'm talking to. My partner for a couple years now, Marta Reese, I'm talking to her about some initiatives that we're taking with the homeless community. How to stop human trafficking. I believe stopping human trafficking has to happen from the inside out, and I think education is a big part of that. So I have a conversation scheduled with 2 of my good friends tomorrow, so that'll be day 2. Day 3 will be to make my second recording. I want to do the 21st Century Heroes Journey one on by the 3 o'clock hour. And by the way, please feel free to pause this and put in your own day-to-day goals as we go on here. Day 4, or 4 o'clock, I'm going to be calling the Time Bank organization. I have a lot I need to research as far as Time Bank with this documentary film as well. By the 6 o'clock or the halfway mark, so by day 6, I'll be recording my 3rd class, which is the 1-person presentation, and we'll go into the longer goals with that. And then let's see here, the 7 o'clock. Then the 7 o'clock, I think I want to contact other friends and start to book another live meeting with others here in the Philadelphia area. By the 8 o'clock class, or the 8 o'clock hour, I think I'm going to start to edit the first 5 minutes of my documentary film. By the 9 o'clock, there's somebody that I want to reach out to who is very, very prominent in this movement with understanding the economy and spirituality and how to build this service market economy. So there is someone pretty prominent that I want to reach out to by the 9 o'clock hour. By the 10 o'clock hour, I'm going to edit another 5 minutes of this film. By the 11 o'clock hour, I think I might rest and take a break. And that's okay. You can build in rest time and recreation time as well, and enjoy your family and have what Julia Cameron, who I mentioned earlier in this presentation, have an artist's day where you just go out and just find inspiration, go for a walk, do something fun, creative for you, so that when I get to the 12 o'clock hour, I can back up and review what happened in the last 12 days and start to make a clock for the next 12 days. So that's important. So I'm writing down that now, or I will be writing that down now when I create the B-roll for this particular class. So that's my example of a 12-day clock, and we're going to be revisiting this clock model scenario in our last class, which is the one-person presentation. So we'll focus on a 1-hour presentation, which I'm right on time here. It's 56 minutes in, and I'm going to say a few things to wrap up here in a moment. But when I do that last class, that will also be focused on the 1 month goal using the clock and the 1 year goal using the clock. And it is 10:30 here, and I'm at 56 minutes and 30 seconds. And wow, this is going to end right at the hour. So at the last 5 minutes of the class, this is really a time where we kind of step back and review. We went over the conversational alchemy today. So the fire, the air, the water, and the earth. So of course the fire is the creativity, which we did with the repetition exercise. The air is the critical mind, the mental realm, where we use the question circle to combine critical and creative thinking to help us move forward. The water is the emotion, where we worked with the emotional hierarchy and start to build the momentum and the technique and the repetition on identifying where your emotion's at and how to tap into whatever emotion you need to feel in order to move forward. And then we talked about the earth and the clock model and how to bring all these skills and create something in reality, within the dimensions of space and time. So what happens next is I'll be asking you to follow the 21st Century Heroes journey. With that, I'm going to ask you to again have your notepad, and you're going to be thinking a lot about your life. The entirety of your life from birth to now, and we're going to put some of those life events into understanding the past, so that we can move into the future. And then the final class is the one-person presentation, where we will revisit the clock model and really kind of help you brush up any kind of presentation you might have for the service and education market economy. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I had a blast teaching it and presenting it. And, we're all equal partners. I really want to stress the fact that everybody's a teacher. Especially if they trigger you, especially if they challenge you. Everybody's a teacher, and we're all an equal partner in this. So my request is that if you got something out of this and you enjoyed this presentation, please visit the website at karmicmargincall.com. You can start to invest in a service and education market economy by going to the Patreon site, patreon.com/karmicmargincall. And finally, my request as well is that if you enjoyed this, share it with 2 others. Have these conversations, these most meaningful conversations with 2 other people. That's how we grow. That's how we build this new paradigm is 2 by 2, 2 to the 20th power. So thank you very much. I don't think I have anything more to say at this time, but thank you so much for listening. And I think that's really the the greatest skill that everybody will bring to the table with this is the ability to listen and to respond accordingly to what you hear, and to really give each other the space to really find what it is that makes them unique in that unique piece of the puzzle. So thank you again. We're coming down to the final 10 seconds, and I'm going to stop my recording. And you have a wonderful day, and God, source, whatever your belief is, be blessed.